All right, this time we're looking at the Samsung Galaxy Buds Plus. That's right, not the original Buds, the Buds Plus. Now, reason I got these was because of this. I heard rumors about these that the original Buds were absolute garbage, and then these corrected the vast majority of their issues. Of course, they're not a perfect product or anything, but I had heard that they're actually pretty good now. So I decided, hey, I ought to go ahead and test this out for myself, Let's go ahead and grab a pair. Now that I've got a lot of truly wireless earbuds on me, and I may as well test these out, Let's see if people are right. Let's see if it's all hogwash or if there's actually some merit to it. And I'd like to think the results are pretty pleasing. Honestly, pretty pleasing. So let's get started with the contents themselves. It comes with the earbuds themselves. As you can see here, these are the Samsung, and it says there, sound by AKG. I don't know if you can see there pretty clearly, but this case, it is a glossy finish, and let me tell you, that glossy finish does attract a lot of fingerprints. It does. Now it does. Now the bottom of the case is actually flat, as you can see there, while the top of it is, curved, which is very awesome because it gives you additional options for how to place this in your pocket or on a table or stuff like that. You can place it like this. You can place it like, facing your wallet that way so that it lays flat against your wallet, but you feel this curve against your, your leg or something. It's very, very flexible that way. I guess it gives you less options for how to place it on a table, but it gives you a more secure staying position, I guess you can say. When you open it up here. By the way, this hinge is quite solid. This is a very solid hinge right here. I absolutely love this. Because first of all, the top, the lid feels very lightweight, and the hinge feels very, very sturdy. Like, it's not that you require a whole lot of strength to open it, but it'd be a little complicated you opening it one-handed. So I gotta applaud Samsung for doing this. Like, I really don't feel like these would accidentally open in my pocket at any point whatsoever. So kudos to Samsung for doing that. Now, you remove them. Here are the Galaxy Buds Plus. As you can see, that is my face. As you can see, these are made out of a glossy material, glossy black finish. These are, they're rubberized as far as the ear tips go and the wingtips, but every other part of it is glossy. Included in the box are 3 sets of silicone ear tips and 3 sets of silicone inner ear wings. It also comes with a USB-A to USB-C cable, which in my opinion, that one's always going to be a win. That one is always going to be a win. Universal compatibility, technological superiority, you've got it all. You can't go wrong with USB Type-C. Unless USB Type-D comes out, in which case, fuck USB Type-C. But anyway, the build quality on these is actually pretty acceptable. I'm not gonna lie. It's, look, the buds themselves are made out of a glossy plastic. I'm not gonna lie, it's glossy, yes. The carrying case is made entirely out of a glossy plastic as well. The case requires USB Type-C to charge, which is a win in my book. It has a very tiny profile, which is perfect for pocketing. And by that I mean putting them in your pocket, not for stealing from people. And for $150, look, the buds, they don't really offer a stellar build, I'm not gonna lie. They're not like a great, fantastic build, but it's quite close to the line that separates an acceptable purchase and an unacceptable one in terms of the build quality alone. However, a reason they could have chosen to gone with such a lightweight, not exactly premium material is for the weight. The less these weigh on your ears, the better. And I gotta say, they don't weigh a lot. They do not weigh a lot. As far as comfort is concerned, look, when I popped these on, I couldn't believe it. These freaking things, in their stock configuration, by the way, were actually a really, really great fit. So as someone who struggles from IEM or earbud fitment issues, this definitely pleases me. This goes up in my book. Very, very up in my book. Their design sits perfectly in my ears, or very close to perfectly, and allows the rear end of the buds, which would be right here, this right here, to push on your outer ear in order to push the tip into the ear canal. So this pushes on the back of your ear and like secures it in place. So this pushes inward and stays in place as well. Of course, some micro adjustments will be required as your listening session progresses, but they're quite minimal and they're few in quantities. That's a really good thing. Now from the tech aspect of things, these pack up to 11 hours on a single charge. That is really, like, it's really impressive, but it's on the higher end of what a modern truly wireless earphone should do. This is probably the longest battery life I've seen on a single charge, so honestly, I'm pretty impressed with these. 11 hours is, I mean, it's commendable, honestly. With the case's additional battery, these can last a grand total of around 22 hours. The charging case can be charged off of USB Type-C, but can also be charged via wireless charging. Just place it on the wireless charger and badonk, it charges. What kind of sound effect is badonk? Jesus. Now they offer a feature named Swift Pair, and this allows for fast pairing with Samsung Galaxy devices and Windows 10 PCs. So if you're using another Android or an Apple device, pairing it is very much like pairing any other traditional Bluetooth device. I will say, however, these buds feature the maximum amount of features to Samsung Galaxy users, but you can acquire the Galaxy Buds Plus app on Apple to receive very similar functionality. They are running on Bluetooth 5.0, and that is, I mean, fantastic. It's the latest and greatest that Bluetooth wireless audio has to offer, so good. They are IPX2 water resistant, which generally speaking, these should be fine for workouts, but try not to get them too sweaty. Yeah, I'm looking at you, dude. Like, don't get these too sweaty. Now, the range on these, okay. When I tested Apple products, like the AirPods Pro and the AirPods Gen 2, I figured, well, listen, they're an Apple product. They're probably going to have some sort of bias towards, Apple, iOS devices. I went ahead and tested those on my iPad and my Galaxy S20 Plus. So I kind of figured that because they did offer some sort of bias, the Samsung Galaxy Buds Plus would do something similar, but towards Android. And, well, I was right. On Galaxy, I reached a total of 48 steps before they began to cut off. But there is something to note here. When they began to cut off, it didn't exactly sound like the sound was just cutting off and stopping. It sounded more like the sound was beginning to sound robotic and distorted. So you obviously it's a cutoff. Obviously you're not going to listen to your music like it's like filtered through a robot filter. But just do note that the cutoff sound for these is a little different than what you would normally expect from a Bluetooth headphone or earphone. On iPad, they lasted 39 steps. Now I did hear a very mild glitch at step 18, though it was very quiet and it did not like interrupt the audio or stop the audio or jump in front of the audio. It just kind of sounded like it was part of the sound of the track I was listening to at the time. So not a terrible glitch, but I did encounter that glitch. I felt I should mention it. As far as latency is concerned with these, honestly, I was kind of surprised with these. I was pretty surprised. So the iPad's connection actually showed far less latency than the Galaxy's for some reason. You'd think it'd be the opposite, given the fact that, they're Galaxy Buds, they're not Apple Buds. So with the iPad, the amount of latency was practically non-existent. If I tried my absolute best to focus on reading the person's lips and trying to sync it with the audio here, I'd have absolutely no need to do so because it's so damn close that it'd be so hard to detect anything. It's like if you do detect something, it's probably your nerves just trying to make these look as bad as possible. It's that good. That little latency. On the Galaxy, however, it seemed to possess about as much latency as a typical earbud within its price range. So I don't know. I don't know why that happened. I figured there would be a bias towards the Galaxies, but my guess is probably that because the iPad is a larger device, it features a chip, it might feature some sort of Bluetooth chip that is larger or more high-tech, more high-powered, more capable than a smaller device like an iPhone or an Android device, or an Android phone. So I just figured as much. Now, as far as active noise cancellation and transparency mode go, it does not offer active noise cancellation, but it does have passive noise cancellation because, well, these are earbuds and they're not vented, or so to speak, they're not, well, they're vented, but they're not exactly, open back or anything like that. They're no Odyssey iSign 10. So it does have passive noise cancellation. It's average, about as much as any other passive earbud, so nothing to complain about there. It's the usual. Transparency mode, it does feature it and it does work, but it sounds really unrealistic. That's the only way I can really put it here. Like, it has a more tinny sound to it, and it becomes somewhat useless if you plan on playing music at like moderate to high volumes in conjunction to it. So, I mean, it's there. If you really need to hear and you don't want to take off your buds, you can do so, but it's really not, it's there on both iOS and Android. It does feature something at least. Now let's go ahead and jump into the sound of these. Well, okay, look, sound is going to surprise you a little bit. Generally speaking, the stock sound signature on these was too treble heavy for my tastes. So I decided to offer my input on sound utilizing the EQ adjustment that sounds the most correct to me. So what I did was I went into the Galaxy Buds app. I went ahead and chose the soft EQ setting because this sounded the most correct to me, where the treble was not extremely sibilant. The bass was still very, very decent, offered a bit of punch, offered a bit of punch. It was a little forward, but it wasn't terribly forward nor muddied up the sound too much. So to my ears, the soft EQ setting was the one that sounded the best to me. And just know that from here on out, the review will be in the soft EQ setting. And the reason I did that was not just because it sounds the best to me, but because that particular in-app EQ only applies to this particular pair of Galaxy Buds Plus. So you can go ahead and get into the app once, set it to the soft, and then never get into the app again. And just like that, it's as if these never had an EQ to begin with. So there may as well not even be an EQ because it's so out of the way and it only applies to this particular item. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and begin. The bass quality on these is somewhat forward across the entire spectrum. It does have a decent amount of detail. I can't complain generally. It's not amazing. It's not stellar. But for what it is and for its price range, not blown away, but I can't complain either. Example time. Zealots of Stockholm by Childish Gambino. At a minute 26, the bass note is somewhat forward and a bit punchy. It does offer a decent amount of detail, with the sizzle on top of it being somewhat audible. The texture is quite good. It is quite good, but it's not great. So good, not great. At 307, the bass valley remained audible for around 75% of the spectrum, and the note decays quite naturally, but does experience some additional forwardness to it when reaching the lower points of the valley, like right before and right after it becomes inaudible. So, okay, I guess not fantastic, but okay. Another example for the bass. The Hammer by Death Clock. The mid bass is just as forward as it should be, but it is not very detailed. It is it's really just, it's one-dimensional, to be completely honest. Like, it doesn't sound like you have two instruments playing side by side creating one note. It sounds like one note. You know what I'm saying? Another example. Dream On, the Postmodern Jukebox cover. The string bass is a tad more forward than usual and a bit too boomy. And it's not very detailed either, but like I said, it's not horrible. So, I don't know, bass gets one of these. It's one of these, honestly. As far as mids are concerned, I really don't have much to say here, other than actually they are a bit too forward with the female vocals, although they do have some good detail to them. They sound a tad thin overall. So that is pretty much my biggest complaint here. The cellos actually sound surprisingly detailed, but have kind of like a strange amplified timbre to them. Like, they sound a little too intense for reality, if that makes any sense. Now, male vocals are actually really, really great. They're detailed enough and they're forward enough to appreciate well, and they have a close to natural timbre, so I can't complain. pretty good. As far as the treble is concerned, on the forward side, for sure. It is on the forward side for sure. It can only be considered slightly problematic on the most treble forward of tracks. So I'll give an example here. In Bangarang by Skrillex and Syra, I did happen to hear a particular part of the upper end that I had not heard before. A sound similar to running like a metal rod across a washboard. And okay, at first I thought this was like, whoa, fantastic. These actually have really good detail. I've never heard this sound before. Then I had to come back into the review because I needed to make an edit. It appears this actually may be a slight malfunction or defect with the earbuds because I can only hear this on the left side, but I can hear that exact same sound, across a couple other tracks as well, even tracks that are not treble heavy. I mean, to be hearing that exact same sound across multiple different tracks, various different genres, that has to be some sort of defect. Not that it's a physical defect, but it could be a driver defect or some sort of update issue where the update broke the sound. So I can't be too certain. Generally considered, doesn't sound like it's defective or anything. There's just that one little detail that I should note that I hope can be fixed in the future, and I hope is not just an aspect of these that it experiences over time. Ultimately, the highs remain only slightly problematic if you ended up applying the soft sound signature in the Galaxy Wearable / Buds Plus app, depending on what device you have. Unfortunately, these do end up suffering from that Bluetooth audio sound, as they ultimately sound kind of forward in the treble, yet pretty crunchy, kind of garbled and crunchy. Not extremely so, like not to the point where you can't enjoy the track, but as far as that Bluetooth sound goes, yes, they definitely have it, I'm not gonna lie. Now, as far as Soundstage and Imaging goes, the Soundstage is medium wide and pretty satisfactory. Imaging is quite decent as well. It's not astonishing, it's not surprising in any way, but it's not bad either. I really couldn't complain. Now, some notes and observations before reaching the conclusion. I have pretty much just one here. When readjusting the buds or touching them at all, you're forced to place your thumb at an area that pretty much touches the touch-sensitive areas, which would be this triangle right here, which causes the music to play pause when handling them. So, I mean, it's not a big deal, but it's just something to point out. Alright, so quick update. I'm trying the Galaxy Buds Plus again for a run, and what's happening to me this time is that both of them are beeping. Not in unison, just separate. But they're both beeping at the same time. What's more is I tested out the transparency mode outside on a somewhat windy day, and it sounds atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. I can't believe what I'm hearing. Okay. So overall, what do I think? What's the conclusion here? I mean, ultimately, I wasn't very impressed with these, to be completely honest. And I believe you can do better in general, especially at the price range. I mean, I'm not saying these are the worst for their price range, they're not, but I think you can do a little better. They are indeed comfortable and stay in fairly well, if I'm not gonna lie, they are. They're not the greatest in sound quality, but they're alright. They make do, especially if sound quality isn't your priority with these, if it's more kind of like a passive sound in the background, that kind of thing while you're working, that kind of deal, especially then, I think they're not going to be a big problem. They're really not. So for $150, I think they're barely passable from an audio perspective, but they're not immediately dismissible either. When you factor in all the other tech these come with, they become a more reasonable purchase. But I'm going to just honestly leave it at there because, yeah, these didn't blow me away. They didn't incredibly disappoint me either. They just kind of exist, and they're okay. You can buy these. If you need this particular item for whatever, the comfort, the workout quality to them, I mean the aspect to them, even though they're not meant for workouts, and personally I'd be kind of afraid on taking these on workouts because of those pins, the pin connectors, but I mean they exist, they're there for you, and they're $150 retail. They can go cheaper, you can find them cheaper for like probably $120, $130, and I think they're a much more reasonable purchase at that price. But let's face it, if you need something, don't try to just save those $20 and wait it out. Just buy them. They're okay. that's all I have to say about these. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this really helped you out. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below. If you have any questions that you want to ask me regarding my experience, go ahead and leave it down below, and I'll try to get back to you on that. And yeah, don't forget to have a Patreon. Thank you very much for checking that out. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. See you guys in the next one.